Hello friends, welcome back. Today we're going to draw 4 flower doodles everybody needs to know. Let's get started. Our first flower is going to be a pansy. Start with a small triangle for the center of the flower, then you can start drawing loose big flower petal shapes. I started with 3 big flower petals right around the center triangle, then I added 2 hiding behind the top section of the flower. After I got the 5 flower petals in place, I started messing around with their shape and size till everything looked like it was in the right proportion and size. Then when everything looked good, I filled the center triangle in with my pencil, making it a dark center. Then I started adding line shadowing to the flower petals. I just created thin, quick lines at the base of the flower petals, as well as on the top of the flower petals. I kept my lines longer in the center of my line clusters and kept the rest of the lines shorter on the outside. To finish off our first flower doodle, I added a loose wavy stem and some rounded tipped leaves. The stem and the leaves aren't really realistic, but I thought they gave the doodles a fun look. Next is our black-eyed Susan flower. This flower is a lot of fun to draw, and I think one of the simplest out of the 4 we are going to draw. Basically because of the flower petals, which I'll show you how to do in just a second. But first, we are going to start with the dome shape for the flower's center. Then we're going to fill that dome shape with a bunch of little small circles, which give the center a black textured look. Then the flower petals we are going to add all the way around the bottom of that dome shape are going to be a thin, jagged flower petal shape. To me, these are pretty easy because of how thin they are. It's a lot easier to make them look good rather than having to mess around with those really big, full shapes. Just keep the flower petals on the farthest side of the center a little bit shorter and slightly curved. You'll also want a couple of the flower petals in the center area to seem like they are overlapping a little bit. I added the same type of stem and leaves to this flower as I did to the first. Then I went back and added in my line shading to the flower. Again, I added quick thin lines to create the shadowing at the base and tip of the flower petals. Our next flower is a forget-me-not, and this flower starts with a thin, small oval for the center. Then we add smaller circles inside of it. Then we create these weird, pointed oval shapes coming off of the center, dividing where the petals will be. We are going to add 5 petals total to this flower. The first petal is a weird curved cup-like shape to create an angled look for our flower. Then the other 4 are large flower petal shapes similar to what we drew with our first flower. Once the petals were in place, I redefined the center section of the flower. Then I added in my stem, leaves, and added my line shading the way we've done for all of the flowers. I will have still images of all of these flowers over on my blog if you'd like to head over there and take your time looking at each individual flower when it's finished. I'll have a link in the description box below if you'd like to head over there and check that out. Our last flower is the poppy. We start this flower by drawing a cluster of small black dots for the flower center. Then we draw 3 big loose flower petals on top of that and then 1 cupped flower petal in the front. I messed around with the cupped flower petal for a while, but once I thought I had it where I wanted it, I added some more of those black dots, kind of hiding behind it as well as filling in that center a little bit more. And then once again, I added in that line shading and my stem and my leaves. The last thing I did was take my small tipped black ink pen and traced over everything. Using the black ink pen really makes everything look sharp and bold and really finishes off everything nicely. I wanted to give a shout out to a few of you who requested this video. I hope you were able to watch this tutorial and I hope you found it helpful. Let me know in the comments below if there are more drawing tutorials you would like to see. These doodles are perfect to put on some watercolor bookmarks. I have a watercolor tutorial you can check out if you would like to use these flower doodles to create your own easy watercolor bookmarks.